Okay, welcome back. As we have our Mochi Shabbos marathon, just getting underway, 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Ches Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom of Lamed Ches Amud Beis, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam She'akol Niyeh B'Dvaro. Good to have 27 Zoomers with us. Oh, I see the power benching. That's good. By the way, everybody, due to everybody's help over here, Mark Frankel and Eddie Chazan and Shelley Zeitlin, we do have now 500 spanking new hardcover power benching. So if anybody wants to order a copy of power benching, and of course if anybody has a chasana coming up and they want to order some copies for their chasana, it is available now. It is in my garage. It has been delivered, all 500 copies. So anybody who wants a
I bought from you, I gave out for bar mitzvah presents.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it is available for people that didn't have it. If you want me to autograph a copy, just let me know. Now, Heichi Dami Mecha. So again, Shelley is occupying Mark's land. How does Mark word his protest to let Shelley know that he has to keep his paper? So Amar Rav Zvid, Planya Gazlonahu, if Mark just says that Shelley Zeitlin is a thief, Lo Yavim Mecha. Because he might just be calling him a thief because of some other reason. That's not a good enough reason. Planya Gazlono, Shelley Zeitlin is a thief, to knock it Leila Aroi, Begazlanusa, because he's occupying my land in thievery. Ulamachar Tovana Lebedina, and tomorrow when I get a chance, I'm going to take him to court. Avya Mecha. That's a Mecha. Now, let's say what happens. Mark issues this protest. He picks 2 qualified witnesses, A.B. Spry and Aaron Swade, men that live the straight and narrow, right? But what does Mark do? He says, I protest that Sheldon Zeitlin is occupying my land, and tomorrow, with thievery, tomorrow I'm going to take him to a court, but Omar, he said, Loi Taimrulei. Don't tell him. Don't tell him I said it. Now that sounds, Mark, if you ask me, that sounds a little bit suspicious. So, Rav Papa says, all he meant was l'didei lo temrulei. Don't tell him. I don't want you to get into a confrontation. But la'achrina emrulo. But you could tell other people. And chavrecha chavre and your friend has a friend, and chavre the chavrecha chavre and your friend's friend has a friend, and the word would get back. What about if A.B. and Aaron say, Mark, we're not going to tell Shelley. We're not going to tell Shelley. Everybody's afraid of Shelley. He's an out-of-towner. But anyway, okay, he's an out-of-town crook, but he's an out-of-towner. I mean, it says the Gemara, what happens? Amru lei lo yamrinon lei. We're not going to tell him. So I'm Rav Zvid. So Rav Zvid says, so that's not a good protest. Amru lei lo yamrinon lei. They said that, I skipped, by the way, Rav Zvid said that the first time also. When he said, don't tell him, so Rav Zvid said, Hakama lo ytemelei. He said, don't tell him. How could that be a good protest? But Rav Papa said, he just meant don't tell him directly, but tell other people. So, again, over here, Rav Zvid said, when Aaron and A.B. say that they're not going to tell Shelley, so Rav Zvid said, so how could that be a good protest? They said, we're not going to tell him. Rav Papa says, no, they just said they won't tell him. They just said they won't tell him. But they'll tell other people. And your friends as a friend. And the friend of your friend has a friend. That's how news travels. Amalahu, in this case, Mark told Aaron and Abi, "Loi tepek lechu shusa." I don't want any word to leave your mouth. So again, Rav Zvid said, "Hakama loi tepek lechu shusa." He said, "I don't want a word to leave your mouth." So that's not a good protest. How's it going to get to Shelley? So that's not a good thing. What about, and that Rav Papa doesn't have a protest about. Rav Papa says, you're right. If he said, I don't want you to say a word, so then that's not a good protest. But Amru lei loy mapkinon shusa. What if they said, Aaron and Abi said that we won't say a word? So Rav Papa says, says the Gemara, you know something? Even though Aaron and Abi said we won't say a word, but since Mark didn't tell them mum's the word, it's not something that's going to be on their mind. Something that's not on people's mind. Here, it's not on their mind. It's not on Abi and Aaron's mind not to divulge it, because Mark didn't tell them not to divulge it. And kol milsa d'loy rami alei d'inish amalhu v'lav adate. They're going to spill the beans without realizing it. And therefore, it is considered still a good protest, and Shelley has to keep his paper even after 3 years. Now we're going to get back to the subject of issuing a protest not in the presence of the occupier. Amarava Amarav Nachman, Micha Shaloi Befanav Havya Mecha. A protest not in Shelley's presence is a good Mecha, because again, the rationale is because even though Mark didn't say it to Shelley, but news will travel. So, Eisvei Rav Nachman, Amr Reb Yehuda says, like Amru Shaloi Shanim, they only said 3 years, Elikadeshi Yeheba Aspamia, that Mark should be in distant Spain when Shelley is occupying his land in Eretz Yisrael. V'yazik Shana, Shelley will be there for a year. V'yelchu v'yoidi'uhu Shana, and they will come and inform Mark in Spain the second year. V'yovoi l'shana acheres, and he has another year in order to travel and protest in Eretz Yisrael. But wait a second. If we hold that Mecha shaloi b'fanav havi mecha, so then why does he have to travel? V'yisol k'daitich mecha shaloi b'fanav havi mecha, lama li l'meisek. Why does he have to travel? Leis of Hasam, stay in Spain. Leis of Hasam aduchte v'limche. Now, over here, the Rashbam says clearly that it's very possible that Gemara could have answered over here. Yeah, the din of Mecha Shaloi B'fanav Havi Mecha is the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold like the Tanakama. However, the Gemara has a different answer. And the answer is, the Gemara says it's preferable for Mark to return so that Shelley won't eat another year's produce of his. Once he eats the produce and he has to get the money from him for the produce, that's a hard business. Hasam eats a toiva kamashmalan. Dinei say that he should come v'nishkal ara uperi and take the land and the fruit. Now, midikamoisav le Rava le Rav Nachman, since Rava asked Rav Nachman that is mecha shaloi b'fanav mecha? Michlal d'loi svira lei the mecha shaloi b'fanav havi mecha. that implies that he doesn't hold that mecha shaloi b'fanav havim mecha. But v'amar Rava mecha shaloi b'fanav havim mecha. Says no, he initially didn't hold that way, but when he heard of Rav Nachman's answer, Basa Deshama Rav Nachman Savra. When he heard Rav Nachman's answer, he said, okay, that's a good answer, and it could be Taka Mecha Shaloi B'fanav Havim Mecha. Ashkechinu Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina l'Talmid of the Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina found disciples of Rabbi Yochanan. You always want to hear what the great Rabbi Yochanan holds. Amar lahu mi amar Rabbi Yochanan b'cha b'kama. Did Rabbi Yochanan say how many people do you have to say the protest in front of? Getting back to our Bavusta Mark Frankel, Shelley is occupying his land, and Mark wants to issue a protest, so Shelley should know that even after 3 years he has to keep his paper. How many people does Mark have to issue the protest in front of? So Reb Chia bar Abba Omer Reb Yochanan, Reb Chia bar Abba says in the name of Reb Yochanan, B'cha b'fnei shnaim. So here you have different Talmidim have different memories of the opinion of the Rebbe. So Reb Chia bar Abba says in the name of Reb Yochanan, B'cha b'fnei shnaim, that Mark has to do it in front of Abi and Aaron, while Reb Avoam Reb Yochanan, B'cha b'fnei shloisha, he has to do it in front of Abi, Aaron, and Yetiv Yukes. So the Gemara says, remember that the idea of issuing the mecha is that the news should get to Shelley. And that way Shelley will know that he better keep his paper. So Lema b'derabba bar Rav Huna k'mifligi. Let's say they're arguing with Rabba bar Rav Huna about how many people do you need that it should become public knowledge. If something is said in front of 3 people, then there's no more lashon hara. Less mishum lishna bisha. Because if something was said in front of 3 people, then it's already known. And if it's already a known fact, then you're not spilling the beans. It's a known fact. So if in front of 3 people it's already said that Marshall Castle eats at one sitting 16 Romanian francs, so then it's not anymore lashon hara to say that he's a glutton, because the Olam knows it, right? It wouldn't be lashon hara. So, but you see that you need 3 people. So then Mark would have to issue his protest in front of 3 people in order to make it public knowledge. So Mandiyama b'fnei shnayim less later Rabba bar Rav Huna doesn't hold a Rabba bar Rav Huna. Or Mandiyama b'fnei gimel, and the one that says in front of 3, so in order for it to become public knowledge, it has to be in front of 3, is later Rabba bar Rav Huna. So the Gemara says, look, the kuli alma islu the Rabba bar Rav Huna. Everybody holds that for something to be public knowledge, so that it shouldn't be constitute lashon hara, it has to be said in front of 3 people. If it was only said in front of 2 people that Marshall ate 16 Romanian francs, you wouldn't be able to say he's a glutton, because it's not public knowledge. It would have to be in front of 3 people. So then what's the argument over here? The one that says that it's in front of 2 people, that a protest not in Shelley's presence is not a good protest. So if a protest not in Shelley's presence is not a good protest, so then it's not about getting out the news. You got to tell Shelley. And once you tell Shelley, all you need is 2 witnesses that you told Shelley, and then Mark would have proof that Shelley was put on the warning that he has to keep his paper. The one that says you have to say it in front of 3 people, that you don't need it to be in Shelley's presence. So then you got to get the word out. If you got to get the word out, then you have to say three people, because once it's in front of 3 people, the word is out. So like I told you, that if in front of 3 people it was already said that Marshall, he even said it himself, that he ate 16 Romanian francs in one sitting, so then that's public knowledge. Then it's not Lashon Hara to say that Marshall is a glutton, because the whole world knows it. Says the Gemara, here we have a third answer. And this third answer is very interesting. That Mark could issue a protest even not in Shelley's presence. Now the news has to get to Shelley. The Man Yomer that says that you have to, it's enough to do it for him to issue it in front of Aaron and A.B. Spry, Savar Sadusa Ba'inan. All you need is testimony. Now, why? Without the testimony, it would even be enough for him to say it in front of one person. Because his friend has a friend, and his friend's friend has a friend. So then, why by Lashon Hara is it only in front of 3 people? So Taisus says an interesting thing here. Look at this Taisus. It's the 4th Taisus on the Amud. Sadusa ba'inan. So Taisus says, as we welcome in Baruch Yankowski, who's joining us, it's nice to have 28 Zoomers here this evening. I see Michal Chavin has joined us. It's good to see. Says the Gemara, says Taisus, that Mark only has to issue it in front of 2 witnesses. Says Taisus, if not that we need to have witnesses that Mark issued the protest, so that Shelley therefore has to keep his paper even longer than 3 years, have a sagi bechad. It would even be enough with 1 witness. Why? The chavrecha chavre, because that person has a friend, and that person's friend has a friend, and the news will get back to Shelley. Now, if that's true, then why, even if Marshall said in front of 1 person that he ate 16 Romanian francs, why isn't that enough that we could talk about it? That's different. Because there we're talking about negative information. People don't talk negative information. So it's in front of 1 person, it's not going to get around. That's the chilek. So that's why you need 3 people. 3 people already, the word is going to get around. Or, says the Gemara, the one that says in front of 3, he holds he holds that the word has to be spread around. You have to make a big effort, and only in front of 3 people does the word get spread around. Now, Rabbi Kranz, are you asking something?
Yeah, I was going to say the Macha.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear it now? I don't know. Can you hear it now?
Very lightly.
All right, then I probably...
now I hear you.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so the Macha itself might be considered Lashon Hara if it's not fully L'tolas, and if people themselves, the Chava Israel might not know that it's exactly this. It's a little hard to understand that there's no Lashon Hara in the Macha itself.
It's very nice. Are you asking a question or you're making a statement?
I'm asking a question.
So the answer is that you're wrong. Again, you see clearly that this is not considered, it's a legal statement. It's a legal statement, and I'm putting on guard Shelley that he has to keep his paper, that's all.
Then it shouldn't say Gazlanahu.
Otherwise he wouldn't have to keep his paper.
Okay.
Now, just lost the place. Yeah, Gidol Bar Minyumi. Now it's too cold, right? Gidol Bar Minyumi. Havile Michiyu Asa Limichuye. Gidol Bar Minyumi had a protest to lodge. So now he wanted to do it above board, and he wanted to issue the protest in front of 3 people. So Ashkechinu Rav Huna L'Chia Barav L'Rav Chilkiah Bar Tuva. He found Rav Huna, Chia Barav, and Rav Chilkiah Bar Tuva. Rabbi Yosvei, they were sitting. Umocha Kamayu, and he issued a protest in front of them, and he said that Marshall Castle, who dates back a long time, is occupying my land, because Lanusa, and I'm going to take him to court. Lashana, in the second year, that was the first year that Marshall was occupying the land. Lashana, the next year, Hada Asal Mechuye, he came to protest again, because he felt that you have to issue a protest every year of the occupancy. Amru Lei, so they said to him, Lo tzrichas, you don't have to issue a protest again. Hachi Amarav, Kevin Shemicha Shana Rishayna, once you protest the first year, Shuvain Tzarech Limchais, you don't have to protest anymore. Says the Gemara, V'ikadamri, others say that it wasn't a Rav who said it. Chia Barav, V'ikadamri, Amalei Chia Barav, Chia the son of Rav said, Kevin Shemicha Shana Rishayna, once he issued a protest the first year, Shuvain Tzarech Limchais. But what about if they issued a protest the first year, and now Marshall is in the land already a 4th year, and they issued a protest only in the first year? Gidol issued it in the first year. So says the Gemara, Amrei Shlosh Kish Mishum Bar Kapara V'tzarech Limchais B'Seif Kol Gimel V'Gimel. He has to protest every 3 years. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. If he protested the first 3 years, so that means that he was saying that he had no right to occupy it. So then, if he had no right to occupy it the first 3 years, so now he's going to have a chazak, gazlan solkadaita? Did he prove that Marshall was a thief? If he protested already the first 3 years that he was being there unlawfully, then why does he have to protest again? He already said he was there unlawfully. What's his claim going to be? Amar Rava says no. So the law is Tzarech Limchais B'Seich Kol Gimel V'Gimel. He has to protest every 3 years, because if he doesn't protest every 3 years, we'll say that he didn't follow it up. So obviously he didn't follow it up. His initial protest was, just a feeble attempt, and he gave up on it. He has to issue every 3 years to let Marshall know that he better keep his paper.
Maybe he bought it though 3 years.
What?
Afterward. Maybe he bought it afterwards, and now he has another 3 years. So that's his chazaka. Why can't you just say after the first 3 years, maybe he bought it from him, so he has to do it another.
What does the guy say? That the first 3 years he stole it?
And no one told me to leave. I didn't know.
So the first 3 years he was stealing my land.
Okay, but now he bought it.
And he doesn't have belief then. Then he's a gazelle.